Good morning. We're going to do a little test section here to make sure that everybody's here and that we're live and we're broadcasting to all of our friends out there on the World Wide Web. We're excited that you're with us today and everything is looking good. Hopefully.
I'm sure it's going great.
So my name is Jen Meyer and I'm here with Parmele Law Firm. Today we are going to be meeting with our lead VA attorney, James Pavisian.
Hello, everyone.
He was with us a few months ago and we were talking about the PACT Act, the passing of that into law and how beneficial that was to veterans. And we wanted to come back to visit with our veterans and share a little more information with them about medical exams in relation to your VA claim. So let's go ahead and start at the very beginning, James. Why don't you just give us a snapshot and a little preview, tell us about that.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about what used to be called comp and pen exams. You may have heard they were referred to as CMP exams, but essentially they are VA examinations that are ordered, oftentimes with third parties. There's three of them: QTC, LHI, which is now Optum, and then Veteran Exam Services. And those are examinations ordered by the regional offices to help them adjudicate claims that are being processed.
Okay. Now, why would these medical exams be ordered?
That's a great question, Jen. So VA disability is a little bit different than other disability types of areas like long-term disability, short-term disability, in that the VA has a duty to assist. So one of the advantages to filing for VA compensation is that the VA has to help you develop your claim and give you the benefit of the doubt, benefit of the doubt when adjudicating your case. So one of the things they have to do is, once you have presented enough evidence, and it's a very low threshold, that you are dealing with a real medical problem, then the VA will order these examinations to meet their duty to assist standard. Otherwise, it's a very easy appeal, and it'll be kicked back down for them to do more workup.
So you mentioned three organizations with acronyms just a moment ago. Are those the exam providers?
That's a great question. So they're not exam providers. They're the ones that, when I talk to veterans that I'm preparing for these exams, I always consider them to be like talent agencies, essentially. So basically what happened was 5 years ago, the VA used to do all these exams in-house. So if you're a veteran, for example, that lived in Topeka and you filed for PTSD, it would be a psychiatrist or psychologist in the Topeka VA that would have to take time away from seeing patients to examine you for your claim. So the VA decided, hey, this isn't a very efficient way of doing things, and they basically put out contract bids and said, hey, who wants to help us administer these exams? And these three different agencies got the contract. So what they do is, they are big companies. They have doctors on their rosters who volunteer, not for free, but they get paid to examine you and fill out reports for the VA rather than having VA doctors themselves do it.
So our veterans are not able to pick their own physician or take their medical records from an existing physician for their claim?
Well, yes and no. So as far as the actual records themselves, one of the things that the regional office is, and it depends on the regional office, what they'll do is they'll send the examiner notes from your doctors or the VA itself, saying, hey, here are the relevant records we want you to consider before examining the patient. So sometimes the examiner will have service treatment records or current pulmonary function tests, whatever it is that's relevant. But as far as picking the examiner, no, you don't get to choose who it is or where you go. With some, I guess, accommodations can be made if someone is inpatient, can't travel, or if they live in a very rural area, they'll try to find someone close to you. But outside of that, you're kind of at their whim.
Okay. And then what is a wait time? Is there, does it take a long time to get in for these exams? Do they usually happen fairly quickly?
Yeah, one nice thing, these exams, you're kind of at the mercy of the examiner giving it, but as far as timing goes, it is really fast. I mean, what we'll see on our end, and if you talk to most VA attorneys, we have access to what's called VBMS. It's essentially the case file through the VA system. What we'll see is that a request will go out to the contractor that says, we want for example, a neurology examination. It's not, I mean, usually within a week or two, when I call the veteran, they've already been contacted and something's been scheduled. So they have pretty fast turnaround because, again, they make more money the faster they see the veteran. So they have every incentive to get these done as quick as possible.
Okay, great. And then how important are these exams in relation to the comp claim?
They are very important, especially at the very beginning. So one of the most important questions that the VA is asking when someone files for compensation is there a nexus? And that's a term of art that you'll hear us attorneys use, and even the VA will use in their decisions. Basically what a nexus is, and the best way I can describe it is, you have an injury in service, you have an injury now. So let's say you injured your back in service, you're still dealing with back pain. The nexus is the line between point A and point B. And so these examiners, not only are they examining you today to determine, yeah, are you still having back pain, but the VA will ask them, based on their exam and review of the records, do they believe that line exists between the current injury and the previous injury? And if the examiner says yes, and I've seen them deny a case still, but it's very, very rare. Like 99.9% of the time, if the examiner they send you to says yes, there is a nexus between the injury and the current problem, then the VA will usually approve it. However, if they say no, it's almost certain that they're going to deny you. Does that mean that you're done? No. Us attorneys will appeal the decisions. We got to make sure the exams are adequate. There's different ways to attack the examinations and conclusions, but that then requires us to go through the appeal process. So they're very important at the very beginning, but there are ways to fight the examiner's opinions and outcomes.
Okay. Can you give us some tips that our veterans can use to prepare for these exams?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Jen. I'm going to answer that in two ways, because these VA examinations are ordered in instances where something already is service-connected, as well as when something is not service-connected. So I'll start off with the easier one, where let's say you're a veteran who has back pain, and the VA already has established that your lower back is rated at 10%. The most important thing about those examinations, getting prepared for them, is being ready to answer questions the examiner has about your current symptoms and not understating them. So one of the nice things about VA law is that we're always developing case law at the higher courts. And reporting pain has been a big thing where there's things you can't test for. So for example, with back pain, the way the VA rates it is by range of motion. So if your range of motion is within a certain degree, they'll either give you 10% or 20%. However, they're also supposed to consider things they can't measure, like pain. So it's very important that you're reporting your pain, how frequently you're having flare-ups. So if you're claiming a condition like migraines, you want to report how often you have those really bad migraines where you're stuck in a dark room. Or if you're having problems with bowels, how often you're going to the bathroom, or if you're having accidents. You want to really report with specificity your symptoms. And that's for people who already have a rating. The people that don't have a rating yet for a condition, so you're trying to establish that, really the most important thing, and something that I stress to my clients, is don't spend so much time harping on the now. Because the now doesn't matter. You're trying to convince the VA that what's happening now started in the past when you were serving. So you really want to talk about the injury at its onset, and most importantly, how it's never gotten better. So going back to my example with the back pain, so you want to talk about when you injured your back, or the instances, because oftentimes in these cases it's not one time, the instances you've injured your back, and how that pain has persisted from the years after your discharge. Because if you just spend time on the now, the doctor is going to only hear what's happening now and not think this injury occurred 5, 10, 20 years ago. So if you're not service connected, my biggest advice is really stress the injury when it happened and how it's never gotten better. And if you do those things, again, you're not guaranteed to get a good nexus letter, but at least you give yourself a chance on appeals, or more importantly, you give your chance of convincing the examiner to establish that nexus, or give you a higher rating, or I guess fill out the form in a way that gives you a higher rating.
So what does the process look like once the exams are completed?
It depends on the regional office, but for the most part, what happens is the exam's completed. And I should say, when these exams are done, the VA will send the examiner that you've been asked to go to, they're going to send them a worksheet. And that's really the best way I can explain it. It's literally a worksheet that has a bunch of boxes that they're supposed to check off depending on what's relevant. So the examiner will complete these check boxes, and they'll go ahead and upload it to VA's portal. VA will then associate it with your claim file, and the examiner who's assigned to make the decision or decision maker, they're going to look at it and then make a decision. Usually, honestly, they've done a lot of hiring now with the PACT Act. So the turnaround I'm seeing once the exams are final exams, by the way, so you will be potentially asked to go to multiple exams for different conditions. But once you've done all of them, it's usually about 2 to 4 weeks before you get a decision.
Okay, that's fairly quick. I'm surprised.
Yeah, they do a good job. Kind of designating how long they think it's going to take for the exams to be done. So by the time the examiner gets back to it, the file is ready. Again, it's a checkbox form, so they look at what boxes were checked, and if the right ones are, you get service connected at a certain degree. If the wrong ones are, they'll just deny it and move on to their next case.
Oh, okay.
So once the exams are done, the exams make it very easy for them to decide the outcome. That's why they send them to those exams.
Okay. And then what does the patient need to do while they're waiting? Just wait?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's that hurry up and wait, right? So the other thing, though, is if something does materially change. So let's say after the exam, like they made you bend in a certain way and it really triggered your back pain. It's very important you let whoever's representing you, whether it's us, another attorney, or a VSO, let them know that that exam really, flared up your symptoms. So we can send in a statement in support of claim saying, hey, just want you guys to know, day afterwards he was in bed or she was in bed for a whole, hour to 10 hours. But if nothing like that happens, and oftentimes it doesn't, then just unfortunately you're going to have to wait. If you're representatives will be able to help you out, answer any questions you have while you're waiting. But as we discussed, it's not a long wait, 2 to 4 weeks, because by the time those exams are done, the veteran has probably already waited 3 to 4 months. So it's not too long after that.
Okay. Well, you broke down that process very easily for us. What else would you like to share? What else is important that we need to know about this?
Yeah, last thing I'll say is what I tell every one of my clients, so if any of them are watching now, they've probably heard me say this. These examiners that the VA is sending you to, they don't care about the outcome. And I'm not saying that to poo-poo them. These are people like my brother, for example, who's a psychiatrist, who want extra spending cash. So what they do is they moonlight with these agencies to do these exams to get extra money to pay rent or pay off a mortgage. And so if you make it easy for them to fill out the forms, that's what they're going to do. So the better you communicate with them, the easier you make them to fill out these forms that they're asked to sign and complete, and to explain to them, like in the language of those forms, like present your case in that language as they're going from top to bottom, the more likely it is that they're going to check that correct box that's going to make your case go faster. So don't overcomplicate things. If you're represented, talk to your representative or VSO before going to organize your thoughts and have a clear idea of what you're going to communicate with the examiner. Because sometimes what you may think is very important for them to know could be the thing that they use to end up denying your case. So you don't want to say something that they're going to be like, oh, okay, and then they check the wrong box. So talk to who you're working with, and just make sure, like, again, for them, it's all about the form. They're not there to treat you. They don't have a bone to pick with the outcome. So make it easy for them, and it makes it easy for you.
Those are great tips. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
So all of this information for our veterans, we can share with you via our website. You can click on our Veterans Disability tab and find more information about this topic on there. And if you have any questions that you would like answered or comments, concerns, you're more than welcome to message us through Facebook, or you can email us. So grab your pen and pencil, piece of paper real quick. You're going to email us at va@danielparmelelaw.com. And we will get those emails and get an answer for you and get back with you on email. You can also give us a phone call directly to our VA team. And that phone number is 417-616-2691. So thank you guys so much for being with us today. Again, if you have any questions, go to our website, which is Parmele Law. I'm sorry, what is our website? ParmeleLawFirm.com. You can email us at va@danielparmelelaw.com or call us at 417-616-2691. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope you have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.